because AI is taking a lot. Well, first, I think about key account management is the last sales role standing. I really do. I use Claude to investigate, can AI take over Valkre? And here's what it says. It says no. It says no because key account management is very relationship and trust dependent, right? It requires this trust of people and relationships in order to get this done. It can't replace that. It says real world coordination, meaning teamwork. It involves having this team of people coordinate together. It's creative direction. It actually listed out a list of things that this is very human, and it requires that human to be creative and think forward. It's not about having something done and putting it in a system. And what AI is a very much an accelerator. And so you did this job. The reality is building an account plan and doing SWOT analysis and doing white space, that stuff takes time. With AI, you can do those things so much more efficiently and effectively. I mean, in Valkre, I can do a SWOT analysis now in seconds.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Practical Founders podcast, where every week we hear an amazing story from a serious founder who built a valuable software company and did it without big funding. Today, my guest is Jerry Alderman, the co-founder and CEO of Valkre Solutions. They make software for key account managers, the top level of strategic account managers, the ones that call on the biggest accounts and the biggest distributors and do more than half of a business and a lot of businesses that CRM doesn't really solve. It's a new category of software. Jerry has been part of that industry and consulting and developing software, and it's starting to go. He just raised a little practical funding to go even faster. So it's a great story of bootstrapped category creation in the sales space. And as he says, it's going to be the last man standing in sales as AI comes in hard. So key account management and Valkre Solutions with Jerry. Hey, Jerry, welcome to the Practical Founders podcast.
Thanks for having me, Greg.
I'm really excited to talk about your corner of the CRM business, probably the biggest niche that nobody's ever talked about. I spent a long time in CRM, did it 3 times in 30-something years. Of course, a lot of that's changing here. And I got my start in Chicago. That's where I'm from. And that's where you're from, too. How are things in Chicago?
Things are hot today, 91 degrees.
Okay. Well, summer's here, and you go from winter to summer pretty quickly.
60 to 90. 60 to 90.
Yeah, that's
Sometimes all on the same day.
Yes, right. Very exciting. Well, and you're a software entrepreneur, the CEO and co-founder of Valkre Solutions. So you know the roller coaster game.
I do indeed.
You're used to that. Today, we're going to talk about your bootstrapped and now lightly funded software business that's growing fast. Why don't you tell us about Valkre Solutions? What is it? Who's it for? And we'll get into the business.
Valkre is software as a service, SaaS, for key account management. As you said, our little niche corner of the CRM world. I think about key account management as these are the people who manage the key customers for companies. Oftentimes they represent a disproportionately large amount of the revenue.
Yeah.
And at the very core, what key account management is these are people who are managing those customers that you want to do something a little differently with, right? When you have the thousands, if you will, customers that you necessarily need to do kind of the same thing, rinse and repeat to be efficient. But there's that group of customers that you want to do something different with, to co-create, to be creative, to innovate, right? To move the needle and drive growth. It's not just about selling them a deal that you would put in CRM. It's about that human interaction to be creative, understand what they're trying to achieve, right? And then execute on that. So it's a niche part of the world, but also a very large and important part to our customers. And so we've been doing this now for over 10 years and developed a software that these key account managers and their teams live in.
Awesome. And presumably, and I'm thinking about key account management, we used to call them strategic account managers, right? They're not dealing with the transactional pipeline of coming in and knocking on doors and all that kind of thing. They're, for a manufacturing company, a paint company, they're the ones who call on Home Depot and Lowe's and do $300 million worth of business and create promotions together and, partner with them creatively. Maybe in some cases, a lot of companies might imagine that their Lowe's and Home Depot key account managers could bring in half their business or something like that. Is that unheard of these days or?
No, it's still
Yeah.
the 80/20 rule. I
Okay.
think so this is business to business. It is the
Yeah.
80/20 rule. It's not consumer where each consumer sort of looks like the other.
Yeah.
Yeah, in this business, it's Sherwin-Williams selling to Caterpillar. It's
Uh,
Pfizer selling to large hospital systems, and it's those people that are responsible for those accounts, and they represent their companies in very large situations.
you mentioned large hospital systems, and there's been a consolidation in healthcare. So what used to be 100 individual accounts is now one, right? When they consolidate, and we see that across almost every industry. Is that a trend that drives key account management? Is the
It is.
consolidation? Yeah.
I mean, that healthcare segment is one of our better segments,
Mm,
and it's for that very reason. If you think about healthcare in hospitals in particular, 10 years ago, 80% of them were independent entities. So companies serve them in a very local way. Now, 80% of them are part of a large company. So massive consolidation. And think about that. It's changed the go-to-market model for everybody that serves a hospital, whether you're in medical device, whether you're in pharma, whether you're in med tech, but all of those think about Medtronic, think about Pfizer, think all those kinds of companies have literally had to change their go-to-market sales approach
mm,
from calling on doctors to calling on the C-suite.
yeah.
And that's key account management. With
Okay.
that simple transition, calling on a doctor, that's a sales rep's job, right?
Right.
But calling in the C-suite, that's where key account management excels. These are people who have the business awareness and presence to command those kinds of meetings and talk about innovation and co-creation at very high levels.
Yeah, it's a business, planning and relationship game with
Yeah,
PowerPoints and spreadsheets and project
yeah,
management plans and approvals from
well,
your CEO and
well,
what if
all
we
of that,
built this for you and all of that stuff. So,
right? All of that stuff. And you mentioned labels. I call it key account management, but like you said, when I was in this role, it was called a national account manager. You were called a strategic account
yeah.
manager. A lot of people call it. There's a lot of labels around just calling things account planning,
Mhm.
right? All of those are really part of this little niche community.
We know what CRM does, and I was there to help create contacts, accounts, opportunities,
Sure,
and
sure.
emails and pipelines and all that good stuff. What are the objects or the components of a key account management software that used to be done in spreadsheets and PowerPoints and all of that?
And I'm glad you mentioned PowerPoints and spreadsheets because that's still our number one competitor.
Yeah.
I mean, if you think today, our number one competitor is still, I mean, we've have hundreds of thousands of CAMs still doing this work in spreadsheets and PowerPoint. That's about to change, and we're going to get to that.
Yeah.
But I mean, what is a day in the life? A day in the life of a key account manager is interacting with senior people at their customer, understanding what the customer is trying to achieve. Classically, what are their goals, right? What are they trying to achieve? And then these are people who have that business wherewithal to be able to translate, okay, I understand what my customer is trying to do. What are my own company's capabilities, right? And they think about this marriage between what the customer is trying to do, their own company's capabilities, not necessarily something that's ready to sell, but fundamentally their capabilities,
Mhm.
right? Maybe water technology or maybe pharma manufacturing, but what are their
Right.
company's capabilities? And then translating that into a roadmap of creation and solutions, right? How do I take what they're trying to do, what my company's capabilities are, and translate that in something that we could go do that would create value, right, for my customer and for my own company? And in many ways, what they're doing is they're creating wind at the back of sales because they're opening the door to sell more things
Mhm.
through this creation, right? I like
Right.
to think about key account management is sales best friend,
Yeah.
right? Because they're opening the door to sell more stuff through this co-creation and helping customers solve problems.
So what are the components of your software? Is there like understanding the goals for this account and what is the quarterly plan and what's the project that's happening and who's involved in like what's in there?
If you take our software,
Yeah.
at the very core of it is the account plan.
Mm.
And for me, the very core elements of an account plan are what is the customer's goal? What are the mutual objectives, that intersection between what they want to do and what we can do? And what are the initiatives or projects that we might go to create value? Beyond that, we have 29 or 30 features that help make that better,
Yeah.
help make that frame better. And those are things like stakeholder analysis, right? Those are things like white space analysis, financial planning. I mean, I could just go down the list. There's 30 things that we can turn on and off
Right.
to help that workflow fundamentally of creating this account plan. And that also it does include deals, by the way. And so what flows out of initiatives would
Oh,
be,
right. Yeah.
once I get an initiative, that should create deals. And so
Yeah.
the account manager can put those deals in and have them flow into their CRM system, and assign them to sales reps and so on. So it's not all this work is not just for fun.
Right.
It's to create value for customer and to lead to revenue improvement and deals. And we thread that workflow together.
Awesome. Okay. So, yeah, it's a completely different sport than the transactional sales game and in the traditional CRM. This leads me to think of that adjacent space to all the early CRMs that never really found its way in, which is the methodologies, right? And every enterprise has their methodology, whether it's the way Bob did it for 20 years
Yep.
or some branded methodology, our account planning process, the branded one, or something like that. In small companies, the CEO is the key account manager. Go out there and make stuff up, right? And create something. But you're selling to bigger companies and they kind of have their ways of doing things. How do you include the methodology in this key account planning process, or do you adapt to their own?
You're sure right. Every company I work with has their own approach. Some of them are maybe a little bit are similar, but they're all different, and they like those differences.
Hmm.
Not only are they different company to company, often they're different business unit to business unit. So if you think about
Of
a
course.
five if
Yeah.
you think about oncology, right, versus internal medicine, they tend to go to market a little differently
Yeah.
in how they
Yeah.
work, and so we find that all the time. And so 2 things on this. One is we figured out pretty early that we have to be methodology agnostic. We can't just be about a particular methodology. The software has to be nimble enough, right, so that it can consume any methodology. You hand me a methodology, I can enable it
Yeah.
in a very short amount of time, like an hour.
Right.
So I just mentioned we have 29 features. I can drag and drop those features and enable a methodology literally in an hour or so.
Wow.
Another key for us has been the ability to have that methodology vary within a company. So for this business unit, they can have this nuance, and that other business unit could be another nuance. And even within a business unit, when you think about it, key account management is a team sport, right? It's not just the key account manager. You can't take one person and make a difference between two multi-billion-dollar companies.
Right.
Every one of these people is operating, sometimes the teams of 100 people, right, that are working with them to drive whatever these projects are and
Wow.
all this. Hundreds of people,
Wow.
right? And so if you think about that situation where you have a key account management, I like to think of them as the general manager of these accounts. And they have all these people working to help them execute this account plan, right? And think about the visibility of that. And so for the key account manager, they want to have the whole perspective. But for a project leader within that, maybe they just want to see this element. And so within Valkyrie, you can very much tune it by role.
Yeah.
So it's not only methodologies, it's also very role specific. So when I walk in there, I see my job. And those have been keys. It's so different than just CRM, where it's sort of a necessarily one size fits all. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just that's the way you scale.
Yeah.
That's not Valkyrie.
Right.
Valkyrie is all about configuring to the user so that they see their job.
And what kind of epiphany benefit do they get? Okay, we've been successful selling to Home Depot for 20 years, and we do this process and so forth, and we have PowerPoints and spreadsheets and folders and stuff like that. What are a couple of the things that they're going to benefit from, 6 months, a year later, and say, "Wow, this is way better than the old way. We're not going back."
I think there's lots of levels in answer to that
Yeah.
question. One thing that's for certain is that in many ways, key account management, if you look across the spectrum of businesses, it's done well in some pockets and not done well in some pockets. And where it's not done well, a big part of the reason is because people really aren't practicing what key account management really is. They're not really digging in and
Right.
doing the true work. It's just a business card.
Yeah.
It's just a business card. And so what Valkyrie does at that level is it essentially is handing them a very structured place, workspace to do that work so that we can cause change.
Right.
I think very much about Valkyrie as moving the middle. I think about moving the average or moving the middle. So, of course, you have the situations that you described where I have some superstar managing Lowe's or managing Caterpillar and doing amazing things. Of course, that exists in every company. But you know what exists more than that is the average, where they're not doing that.
Mm.
They're not superstars. And what Valkyrie does is create a place to help the average in particular become much better because they walk in there, they see their job, the structure's all there. It's just follow the bouncing ball almost. That's one element of fundamentally improving revenue of a company by taking the average and improving them dramatically. Um,
And could you imagine, like, if they do $100 million in business to Caterpillar, you ought to see whatever, a 10%
it's
kicker?
it's
Something? Yeah.
the data is the difference between just doing average and doing really well in this business of key account management is a 7% revenue lift.
Okay.
7%.
Yeah.
And margin lift and retention.
Yeah.
So it's there's real data on it. It's meaningful, but it's not, there's a big difference between thinking you're doing this and doing it well.
Yeah. Great.
The other thing is you say, what is it? Much of the work in key account management continues to be done in Excel and PowerPoint. But I would say 85%. I mean, it's heavily still done in PowerPoint because there hasn't been there's been some systems, but not great systems. I mean,
Yeah.
we're among the first. But what's happening here is you've got this massive data set that's left untapped. All this work that goes on with your most key customers is still left in PowerPoints. It's not in any sort of structured place. And what's happening today is AI can't see it. Yeah. And so for many of our companies, what's causing a call to action to move immediately is the emergence of AI, where now with Valkyrie, you can attach AI to it and you can look across those big customers and see exactly what's driving the needle. What are our actions with these customers? What's common?
Right.
What's not common? All the things you can imagine.
Yeah.
And it's fundamentally now getting the attention of the rest of the world who continues to do this in PowerPoint and Excel. And they're like, oh my gosh, we're about to be 2 steps behind from a digital perspective. First of all, it's not digital. Second of all, we can't use AI. We're about to be in trouble.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. And you've been going at this a while, and we'll talk about your journey from consulting company to software enabled to now software company and so forth. How big is the software company now, Valkyrie, in revenues, employees, customers? What can you say about it?
Yeah, I mean, we're just going past 4 million
Okay.
in ARR. So, I feel like we're a business that we built a great product, found a great product market fit.
Yeah.
But like I said, we were serving, and I think about key account managers. In many cases, these are some of the most senior, seasoned
Yes.
salespeople in the world. And
Yeah.
guess what? They're the last people that want to use a piece of software. They know they do it their own way, and
Yeah.
you know who they are.
Yeah.
You and I were one
They
of
were the
them.
last people to put their deals in CRM,
Oh, yes. Yes. And you know what? They still didn't because they had someone do it for them.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so in many ways, from an adoption perspective, we were dealing with a market that were probably slowest
Yeah.
to adopt. Now, things are causing that to
Yeah.
change.
Yeah.
Now we can get into that. But so we've been around a while with a great product and some really, first movers. If you think about the Pfizer's been great, Ecolab's been great, companies, first movers, we're doing amazing things with. But the majority out there were not doing that, still doing in Excel and PowerPoint. That has started to rapidly change these
Mm.
past 2 years.
Okay.
One is I think AI is the prime driver because
Mhm.
now people are wanting to, like, they're waking up to that and wanting to actually have a digital data set, structured data set around what they're doing with their most important customers. COVID was a bit of a wake-up call. You know what happened during COVID for us is the sales motion for a key account manager was to get on a plane and fly
Mhm.
every week. That was the sales motion. I did it. You probably did it.
Yep.
I flew all over the place, visiting large accounts. When COVID started, that stopped. It changed the sales motion, and every C-level person in the planet said, "Well, what are we doing with our largest accounts?" And everyone was like, "Silence." They
Mhm.
weren't visiting them all of a sudden.
Mhm.
They really had to recreate the sales motion in many ways. It wasn't having these meetings all the time. It was, doing what you and I are doing and taking notes and sharing notes back and forth and all that.
Right.
That actually opened the door. It caused C-level people to ask the question, well, how are we managing these large accounts? What is
Yeah.
the data? Where are we keeping that?
Yeah.
Where are we keeping that stuff?
Yeah.
Because I couldn't rely on Jack anymore to fly in and have a meeting with me and tell me. I mean, now it was like, okay, I could really use that in a data somewhere. That also made a difference. And then we also just have a natural turnover. There's just a natural turnover of talent. So you and I are turning over. We were the key account
Yeah. Yeah.
managers of the past. Now we have a new generation of the 30 and 40 somethings, and they expect technology.
Yeah.
And they do.
Yeah, of
And
course.
so that's also happening right now. And so those three things have kind of all come together. And it's literally changing the game.
This podcast is sponsored by my friends at Lighter Capital. In the last 15 years, Lighter Capital has helped over 600 software and SaaS founders secure simple, non-dilutive financing to grow a little faster without giving up any precious equity to investors. I know the Lighter team well, and several Bootstrap founders they have helped have already shared their success stories on this podcast. Simple debt funding from Lighter Capital can range from $50,000 up to $10 million with straightforward terms, no personal guarantees, board seats, or covenants, and up to a 4-year payback period. Go to lightercapital.com, that's Lighther capital.com, to apply and get a quick pre-qualification. Then talk with their experienced team to create a practical funding plan to achieve your goals. Now back to our podcast. So you're kind of creating a new category, paving a new road, and you have some product market fit. And you just raised some practical funding from Golden Section as things accelerate. You're feeling the wind at your sails, or at least you want a bigger sale, something like that. And let's
Sure.
go. It's go time kind of thing. What can you say? I've had, is it Dougal?
Yeah, Dougal Cameron.
Yeah,
Yes.
I've had Dougal Cameron on the podcast before talking about their practical approach to helping early stage B2B SaaS founders with funding and with some help. But you decided to work with them. What can you say about working with Golden Section to go faster?
I mean, just like probably every SaaS company, I've been contacted by hundreds and hundreds of entities, West Coast, East Coast. I've been running this business as a bootstrap business for a while. And at my core, I'm a believer that not too many people get to start a business like this. And even those that start don't get,
That's true. Yeah.
get to run it for a while,
Yeah.
right? And I believe in that journey. I really do. And I couldn't enjoy it more. I worked in corporate America, and I think every person in the world should experience this. I really do. Because it grounds you in what's real and what it takes to start a business, to run a business. You learn so deeply about winning customers. And for me, I'm a little fish, winning these large customers. And
Yeah,
it's,
that's right. Yeah.
it's fulfilling at very extreme levels. It's hard to have for that to happen in corporate America. But so I looked for a partner because, like you said, I do feel the wind in our back a little bit. I think it's kind of our time, and we've been building towards this for a while, and it's sort of our time. And I'm like, I want to go faster. I don't want to go so fast that I'm willing to give up the company for a
That's right.
majority of
That's
the
right. There's
business.
the practical founder reality. Yes.
But I want to go faster. And
Mhm.
so I need a great partner. And so I set out to find someone that was okay in a minority position that I really felt would work with us. I mean, so I was looking for culture, and I feel like they're a great, and that's really important to me. I wanted someone that culturally,
Yeah.
wasn't at odds with us. That they wanted to get on board and really help us with this journey and this mission. And I felt like I found that in them. And now, having worked with them here for over a year, I'm just thankful that we are working with
How
them
much
because
did you
they're
raise now that you're up and running, and how do they help you?
um, I think I probably have to be a little bit careful with
Sure,
that,
you
but
can. Yeah, if it's not
we
public.
raised over 5 million.
Okay.
So not 20 million, and not,
Yeah. Yeah.
but we
Right.
we raised over 5 million. We did a couple of things with it. One is the classic sales and marketing, of course.
Uh-huh.
I mean, if you don't use outside money to fuel sales and marketing, then I'm not sure
Yeah.
what the point is.
Yes. Rocket
S
fuel if you don't have a rocket, right?
Yeah, exactly. So if your product fit's not right yet, and you just pour money on the sales,
That's right.
how it goes. That's just an end, path to nowhere. But predominantly sales and marketing. Secondarily is we are using it to invest in advanced technology. We've now put the fastest, Azure, .NET backend on this thing there is. We're spending money on building agents
Yeah,
within the system to make the
yeah,
work easier, right? We're exploring MCP servers where we can
yeah,
connect Valkyrie
all
to
that.
other databases. So we're using it primarily for those two: advanced technology, right, and sales and marketing.
And what does your team look like? Do you have a co-founder and senior leaders at this
I
point?
do. I mean, my team is mostly software, mostly engineers, of course. My co-founders, his name is Brian Keep. Brian is a classic University of Illinois computer
Yeah.
engineer. I
Mhm.
think he was a Siebel scholar.
Yeah.
He put in some of the very first he put in some of the first Siebel systems.
Oh my
Not
gosh.
he was in the middle of that, but he was among the very first people to put in Salesforce. So he understands in a pretty deep way, what CRM is, what customer facing stuff is, and what it isn't. And he has been the true product leader, and he's been brilliant in guiding us to the kind of the spot that we're in. You know, not with that our, we've made a few U-turns and sideways turns and this and that, of course, but
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure. About what does a customer pay? So this isn't about their whole Salesforce seats. It's a project team seats, right? That as you described it, but they're doing bigger business, right? So about what does a customer pay per year on average? Just give us a range. I'm sure it's not small.
it is in a range. I mean, I would say just a sweet spot range is 100 to 200,000
Yeah.
is
And yeah.
sort of in the sweet spot. We have some smaller, we have some larger, but I love those customers that are kind of right in that range.
Yeah. And you're
They
making
add up
multi-million
pretty
dollar impact for them and automating a lot
quickly.
of people, very serious work and a specialty kind of thing. So,
It's funny that you asked that because Dougal thinks that we could probably triple our price, and he might be right. But that's where we're at right now because we are, it is. I mean, it is getting serious where you have this C-level that's saying, "Hey, we need to get these senior salespeople, these CAMs, into a digital system
right.
that is enabling this work that they appreciate and enjoy, and that we can start using in the AI world." So I don't know. I mean, maybe we should be tripling our price, but that's where we're at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, so it's a kind of a sales-led process. They're not, you're probably calling on them, finding the key account managers, going networking with all the people that know key account managers, or probably, you can get a list of key account management from Home Depot or, hospital systems or something like that. So,
You can actually just go into LinkedIn and you can start searching
ah,
on companies that have key account management leaders. So if you go search for companies that have a VP, right?
yeah,
Not just a CAM, but like a VP, you'll find like just in industrial manufacturing of companies over $1 billion, 5,000 CAM programs. I mean, our estimation is there's easily well over, $500,000, 500,000 key account managers in the US.
and doing something different than the transactional,
For sure.
flow. Right,
For
yeah.
sure. Now, not all of them are would be ideal customers for us, of course, but, it's not a small it is niche
Yeah.
compared to CRM,
But we
right?
just love big niches. And by
I
the way, everything starts as a niche. CRM
Correct.
for the salespeople use computers, right? Or,
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
that kind of thing. I'm old enough to remember and early enough in CRM when all the people I knew, my parents' age, who, were in sales, they said, "Do you think salespeople will use computers someday? It seems like a small market," and all of that. But yes, imagine if you sold, just 1% of those 500,000 users. So very exciting. So let's talk about your journey here to develop this niche. You obviously have a background in sales and, can have these strategic conversations and hold your
Sure.
own with strategic account managers and both sides of this and know what the game is and probably do a lot of therapy and consulting around that. How did you get into this key account management side of the sales technology game?
I'll try and keep this short.
Yeah, yeah, right. I have the
I
same
was
problem. Yeah.
I was raised on a ranch in Montana, which is the
Oh,
reason for this stuff back here. I mean, that
yeah, okay.
those horns are from the ranch. I was recruited into nuclear submarines by Rickover, so
Uh-huh.
engineer. I'm an
Yeah.
engineer by training and advanced training. I got out of submarines, Was recruited into a manufacturing company, made packaging and other wood products as an engineer. About 2 years in that, they decided I should be in sales. I transitioned to sales. Wasn't very long in that they transitioned me to manage their largest accounts. Wasn't very long after that, I became a sales leader,
Yes.
at the company. During the during the dot-com boom, I left because I didn't see it as an
Yeah.
industry that was going very far. Started a company in the dot-com era. Didn't it was supposed to be worth billions of dollars at one point, and then,
Yeah.
the market dried up. I went to University of Chicago. From there, I started consulting companies around customer, all things customer,
Mm.
customer value, value propositions, segmentation, you name it. I got to consult with Owens Corning during the housing crisis. My job with them was to help them understand value because they were afraid that because the market was changing so rapidly,
Yes.
that they would miss and cut the wrong things, and
Right.
it would hurt the company very badly at a bad time. So I had a group of people, and we did that. We created this amazing database of what was valuable to their customers and tracked that through that time. And when we got done with all that, they used it. It helped their business a lot. They asked Brian was with me at the time. They said, "We can't stop doing what you're doing for us, but we can't afford to pay you consultants." And so they wrote us a check for $1,000,000 and just wanted whatever product we built
Wow. Was that
to be available.
effectively key account management? Let's go guide your strategic corner of your business
That's
during the
so that was
housing crisis. Was it key account
that's
management?
It
Yeah.
so that's you might imagine we ended up talking to their largest customers, of course, because 'cause they're like everyone else. 80% of those big guys
Yeah.
drove
Yeah.
their business. And we talked to them to understand value, and that was the start of how we got to where we're at because we sort of figured out it took us a while because 'cause we're just not smart enough, but it took us a while to figure out when you think about value, where that road ends up is at your largest customers. They're the ones that you have this conversation with. Your smaller customers, they sort of just accept whatever it is that you're offering.
Right.
But those large customers are always questioning value. What is the ROI? What is the value of this? Who from your company is talking to me about that? And what are we doing to improve it? And all that.
They don't even
So
look at your website. They don't believe it. They're just gonna make stuff up. Yeah.
all roads led to key account management.
Wow.
And that's those are the breadcrumbs that we followed, right? And got us to where we're finally at here today, which was let's create a place for those key account managers where they can manage all of that because they didn't have a place to do it.
Right. Well, that's interesting. It didn't come from where CRM came from, which is I have 100 salespeople and we have to do the quarterly spreadsheet ask at the end of the month to see where everybody is. And the secretary, rolls up the spreadsheets and then you got to call everybody to go through it. And then everybody's got their own database. They're all using ACTA, their own data, and there was no rolled up database and no, all that. That's where CRM came from, which is, let's
Right.
say, the administrative side. But you came from the value creation customer side, not even the sales pitch side, but like the value side of this value
That
generation, not even about administration, right?
No, that's
So
exactly where it came from. I
interesting.
mean, the first version of our software was value prop creation. That was the very first version. It was, what is your value prop? How do you quantify your value prop? How do you communicate that? And that just naturally led to this key account management. And so the problem that we were after was doing a better job of communicating and understanding value to customer. I wrote a book. The second book that I wrote is called Winning with Customers. Do your customers make more money doing business with you? That was
Yeah,
our
start there.
thesis. Our thesis
Yeah,
was, in order to be good at selling to large customers, you really needed to understand, does that customer make more money doing business with you than their next alternative? And that's the job of key account management. There's no other entity
yeah,
that exists to communicate that. That is those senior key account managers. They're your firewall, right? To communicate, to continue to develop that understanding, to identify opportunities to
yeah.
improve, right, that value. I mean, those are the people, and so that's how we got here. We got here through that sort of value lens, and then to who manages that and what's a day in their life, right, in terms of all of that, and that's what got us here.
Well, that's another corner of this whole software business that is undercooked after all these years. We all have the administration and database software, but like this process that we used to have training and a methodology and use my 4-box system, right, for value creation and like the art of the game, right? Not the plumbing of the game, right? So almost, and there have been plenty of software for lawyers, and there's EOS that has some methodology stuff in there. That all that methodology process, branded process. Yes, we had the strategic selling book and all of these kinds of things, but was it almost like process and training software, or AI is starting to help with that, but that's pretty early for that kind of methodology software.
And we were probably early in this.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think about the core of Valkyrie as enabling this key account management workflow. It's a very human workflow, right? It's not about putting a deal into a CRM, right?
Yeah.
Which is just a very transactional.
Yeah.
If you think about what we're doing is we're enabling a very human workflow,
Mm.
right? A workflow that requires judgment. It requires
Yes.
relationships. It
Right.
requires creativity, right? It requires this knowledge of both sides, this knowledge of customer, this knowledge
Negotiation.
internally,
Right. Yeah.
negotiation, communication. It's very human,
Mm.
right? This workflow, but it is a workflow.
Yeah. Okay.
It is it
Yeah.
is a workflow. It is a flow of understanding customer, building an account plan, or managing a team of people that interact with this account plan and help you execute. It's about making sure that you're understanding value and communicating and quantifying that value. It's about, right, executing, right, getting things done, right, so that you can have your QBRs with customer and talk about that. It's about then reviewing that process and developing people to help. It's very much this workflow that happens,
Mm.
right? And that's one of the things that's kind of hard about key account management, because
Yeah.
it's not just about walking in and showing up.
Yeah.
It's intentionally, and I think about it's the job of a general manager. It's walking in and thinking of that customer's, this is my area. I'm the general manager. I'm responsible to make sure this customer is growing, right? And all the things, and having that workflow to make sure that that's happening.
Awesome.
So very human. If you think about AI, and I obviously think about this a lot. If you think about us and our moat, because AI is taking a lot. I think about key account management is the last sales role standing. I really do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because if you can go, I used Claude to investigate, can AI take over Valkyrie? And here's what it says. It says no. Yeah, it says no because key account management is very relationship and trust dependent. It requires this trust of people and relationships in order to get this done. It can't replace that. It says real world coordination, meaning teamwork.
Yeah.
It involves having this team of people coordinate together. It's creative direction. So anyway, it actually
Yeah.
listed out
Yeah.
a list of things that this is very human, and it requires that human to be creative and think forward. It's not about having something done and putting it in a system.
Well, that sounds really exciting, meaning an accelerating business that is kind of becoming more
But
visible and important in the age of AI, that isn't
it,
going to go away, and is one of the most strategic things a company can do successfully.
and what AI is a very much an accelerator.
Yeah.
And so you did this job. The reality is building an account plan and doing SWOT analysis and doing white space. That stuff takes time.
Hmm.
And one of the challenges with this role is it does take time. With AI, you can do those things so much more
Hmm.
efficiently and effectively. I mean, within Valkyrie, I can do a SWOT analysis now in seconds, right? And so it helps prime the pump to building even better account plans. And so we're using AI in that way to make the job easier and more effective, right? The other thing though is now that we're actually building these awesome CAM databases, right? This database of all this work, right, that happens along the journey. Now I can put AI on top of that so that a company can see what's going on with my top 100 accounts.
Right.
What is the work that's happening? What are the initiatives that we're accomplishing? What is the growth correlations to this, that, and the other? I can really set now my AI on top of all this, which now is making our database extremely valuable,
Right.
right, to these companies, because it's one of the largest databases no one's ever seen.
Right.
It literally is one of the largest databases that no one's ever seen.
Does it integrate with Salesforce to push deals or do other things?
You
Like,
you
I
bet.
don't know. Yeah.
We integrate with all the popular
Okay.
CRMs,
Yeah.
so Dynamics, Salesforce, We've gotten really good at just connecting to them so that you can either put a deal in Valkyrie and it'll flow right to the CRM, or we connect with the CRMs and bring the deals up into the customer environment, into the customer. We call them customer workspaces.
Right.
Right.
Well, the sales game is changing with AI in the modern world, and so is the CRM game. What is the current state of play in this corner of the market? Are they demanding AI-powered technology to assess deals, strategic accounts, key accounts? Are the salespeople fluent in Claude? They want to talk to it and have it administrate things. What is the current customer expectation about AI in your product?
I think everyone's excited about it. I don't think everyone understands where it's going to go, and I don't profess to either.
Yeah,
I do know that we are working with every one of our customers on their AI roadmap as it relates to key account management. The Everyone loves the agents because we're experts in this area.
yeah,
And so we're pretty good at building the agents. We know what they're supposed to do. And so everyone appreciates that. I mean, they do appreciate being able to build account plans easier, more efficiently, more effectively. They like their camps to be more strategic,
yeah,
right? And this maybe gives them the time to do that.
yeah.
I talked about moving the average. This is another one of the things that helps us move the average
Mhm.
cam. But you know what everyone is really, really excited about? And when we show our customers this, I mean, their jaws drop, is being able to connect through an MCP server. You pick your LLM. You want to use Claude, Copilot,
Yeah,
what we don't care. We're also LLM agnostic. Take your Claude, hook it to your Valkyrie database, and then also you can hook it to other databases, and then have it spit out a report on your largest customer and have it tell you what you might go think about next. That sort of stuff. Because now you
mhm,
have this massive database
yeah,
that it's looking at, right, of your key accounts. And for it to look at that database and extract growth intelligence out of it is game changing. I
right.
mean, it really is game changing. Where we used to just depend on these cams, right, and maybe an analyst or something. The power of it when you see it is it will cause you to say, we need to build our cam database. We need to have it tomorrow.
And we need to feed it the right stuff. So it's got
Well,
the transcripts from Zoom meetings. Is it capturing some of those live meetings? Somebody putting their phone down and said, "I'd like to capture the transcript so we can have it in our system." And those conversations, probably not at the golf course or the fancy dinner out with the buyers, but how are you capturing that kind
We're
of
not we're
information?
not we're not doing that quite yet because none of our customers are ready for that.
Okay, great. Yeah.
What might show up there? What we are doing is I think about it as man in the middle, cam in the middle.
Yeah.
And so it's just you still need human judgment when you're putting things into this database at some level, right? You can't just have, at least in this moment in time, we're not taking in a none of my customers are wanting an agentic approach right now.
Hmm.
What they're wanting is their AI to serve up suggestions. They want the CAM to look at those suggestions, pick them, say yes, no, I want that in my plan, I don't want that in my plan. That makes sense, that doesn't make sense, right? So it's kind of a CAM in the middle
Yeah.
approach in terms of building it. So you still have that human, right, sort of judgment. It's not doesn't lend itself to being agentic because we want that creative, strategic,
Yeah.
context person looking at it, right? And using it to fill in the account plan. Now, we're starting to use it to pull in stakeholders, so go out, search the stakeholders at this company, bring those in.
Mm.
That's becoming very popular. We have the ability to take turn on stuff in meetings and have it drop right into your meeting notes and stuff. But none of our customers at this moment, I think they're a little
That's
concerned about
interesting.
security
Yeah. Yeah.
we deal with these customers that are very concerned about security, what they're exposing and,
Yeah,
and
it's big
all of
bucks,
those.
and if they're public companies and, the key account manager misses a quarter, that affects their stock price, so
Well, it's the
right
data
there.
privacy stuff.
Yeah,
It's also the personal data privacy that is interplaying with all of this. And I don't think any of us understand yet quite where the barriers, where the rules are going to land. I
yeah,
mean, data privacy is such a big subject, and we've been dealing with it. You think about pharma and some of these
yeah.
regulated industries, data privacy is a pretty big deal.
Yeah.
And so I think there's still some areas where none of us, I don't think, quite have it all figured out.
There's a lot of that going on, more than people would admit these days. Let's go back here because this, whatever, key account management support is, looked like consulting 10 years ago, right? You could go in and
Sure.
work with them, and you did a bunch of that. How did you turn your consulting business into software? And maybe there were phases of life there. What exactly happened?
You're right. I mean, so I mentioned the Owens Corning story where we were there as consultants, helping them understand customer value, right? And my co-founder, Brian, who I mentioned, Brian Keep, he was taking all of that data and putting it in an Access database. And he created the most beautiful Access database. I mean, it really was powerful and useful. And that was actually the starting point. So when Owens Corning wrote us a check for $1 million and said, go build a product, they were looking at that Access database and
Okay.
said, we want more of that.
Was that a
Could you
summary of the interviews with some analysis and statistical
all of
charts
that
and all that good stuff? The
Oh, you
benchmarking
could
and
just
yeah,
imagine, right?
yeah.
All of that stuff, right? All of that stuff. And so they're like, we want more of that. And so that caused us to say, okay, well, all right, well, we need to build some sort of front end on that. So people, because Brian's a wizard,
Yeah.
but so that the average person could interact with something like that and build it. And so we built a front end. And then we migrated to where it's not just about customer value, it's about how do we enable this CAM follow, right? And sort of just follow that thread. And that's what ended up yielding what is Valkre
So did
today.
you turn it into a software-only company right away, or did you
We
live
we
through some
we
transitions? Yeah.
our first move was because we knew what consulting was. I mean, consulting,
Yeah.
you're only and not to be pejorative, but you're only as good as your last project.
Yes.
And we didn't want that, right? We saw this opportunity with Owens Corning as an opportunity to do something different. And
Yeah.
so we started off as a SaaS right out of the gate. We
Okay.
wanted to build SaaS, and we didn't want it to be anything to do with consulting. We
And what
wanted it
year
to
was your first customer with the SaaS product? Sure
that
yeah.
at that time was 2012-ish.
Yeah.
And we continued. So one of the reasons we were able to do just founder led and fund our company is Owens Corning was sort of you could call them our angel.
Yeah.
I mean,
Strategic
they
angel?
were,
Yeah.
yeah, they were funding us. And then our second customer was GE.
Yeah.
And then they funded us for now there's good and bad, and I could go into those horror
Yeah.
stories and or positive because they were funding us, but it came with a price. But we worked with GE for probably 6 years exclusively, and they were funding us, and we were building.
Okay.
All along the way. Some of those things were misguided. Some of them weren't, but where we really hit our stride, and you would recognize us as who we are now, is it was in the 2016 timeframe. I finally came to the concrete vision that this was key account management.
Yeah, it takes a while to go figure
We
that
might have
out.
said
It's easy to say now, right? Yeah.
we reminded us that we thought we had the world by the tail, but you know what? We didn't. To me, what's been key is we wake up every morning and we solve the next problem. I mean, we don't
Yeah.
give up, and we've managed it such that we could do that. But in 2016, I finally landed on this. This is key account management, and that is going to be SaaS because key account managers need a place they can work.
Yeah.
Every week, every day,
Yeah.
they're managing these teams of 100 people. We're making a workflow come to life, which is what SaaS does, right? We're making a workflow come to life. It's not just this database. We're making workflow come to life. And so I met with the CEO of the Strategic Account Management Association, who at that time was Bernard Kincard. And at that time, there wasn't a SAM on the planet that had used anything that looks like Valkre. They were using spreadsheets, and they didn't want to use anything like Valkre because they hated technology.
Yeah.
But I sat with him and I said, listen, I think the technology component of this role that we all love as key account management is going to become more important. And it took us a while, but I finally convinced him. And he carved off 3 of their top community partners, and they worked with us. And that's when we really started to hit stride, and we've become a big part of that community of the Strategic Account Management Association. That's kind of the place where key account managers go to learn.
Right.
Right. And we've become a very big part of that community. They've been a great partner for us, and it's growing. I mean, we just had the conference last couple of weeks ago,
Mhm.
and we had 200 new
New.
members, brand new people, and 40 companies came up to us. So that's how fast this started.
Yeah.
40 companies came up to us to explore, to understand, to engage in those a couple of days. And that's how, so I can tell you, if I unwind to 5 years ago at that same conference, maybe 4 companies.
Right.
And I had to work my tail off to convince them it was worth the conversation.
I know. And you're a good sales guy, and, that's
I
the
used to
challenge
be.
in a new category is I
I
don't
used to
have
be.
one of those. I don't know if I need one. I think we already got one. I think I could use PowerPoint.
At this company, 40 companies came to us.
Yeah. Well, sounds
And
like it's
so,
happening.
listen, we're having a ball. It's a fun time.
Yeah.
It's fun to watch it happen, and it's something that I say this, and maybe I shouldn't. I tell companies when I'm in the sales process, I say, it's actually, I think, criminal that we've had key account managers use the systems they've been using. It's almost criminal.
Yeah.
Because here's some of our most important sales assets, working with our most important customers using shitty technology.
Yeah.
And I think it's criminal.
Yeah. Spoken like a true evangelist on the
Oh,
frontier, pushing the
I know. It's
frontier.
like
Way to go.
I've been yelling from the mountaintop, so it's
So
fun to have.
what do you think? I'm looking at this, it's very typical. And sometimes most of the time having big funding doesn't work. They have expectations to hurry up and get there, and it takes a while. It took you a while to figure out what this thing was and to push it as a category and say, we're the one that does it, and nobody else was doing it before. And now the momentum is building. But, that's a long time. Is that what you signed up for? Let's create a new
No,
category and bootstrap this thing? You thought it'd be bigger, faster?
absolutely not.
Yeah.
I absolutely did not sign up for this, and you can ask my wife.
Yeah.
I mean, I wanna paint this as rosy and journey and all that, but there's an element that is very hard.
Yeah.
I
What's
mean,
hard? Just for people to
this
say,
is
well,
this something. I mean, it keeps you up at night, right? I
yeah,
mean, you have sleepless nights worrying that is this I had this grand vision and I'm confident, but it's not quite happening, and people are looking at me going, "Jerry, what are you
you're
doing?
crazy.
You're an
Yeah.
idiot.
Yeah.
You're crazy. You're crazy." And that's very real stuff. You have team members that are part of your team, and you feel bad that you're not helping their careers more
Yeah.
quickly than they are.
Yeah.
And I mean, I have my lead engineer who's absolutely amazing, and he's been with us not quite from the beginning, but pretty close.
Yeah.
And I'm like, am I really doing him a service? Listen, winning customers is always the hardest thing. I mean, convincing we had GE, but convincing, it doesn't matter what Fortune 1000 company
Yeah.
you're talking about, convincing a Fortune 1000 company that they need something that they don't have.
Right.
This isn't selling them a next generation CRM. This is selling them
Yeah.
something they don't have.
It's not in the budget. Yeah.
It's not in the budget.
Right.
And guess what? You run into IT, which is Mr. No.
Right.
That's their job for out of the gate is Mr. No.
Did you do consulting therapy on the side along the way to fill in the cash flow? Sometimes that's a cheat code for surviving, waiting for your recurring product revenue to take off.
We didn't do it on the side. So Brian and I, of course, had some consulting in our back pocket, so we knew how to do it.
Yeah.
So we would do some more consulting probably than we wanted to.
Yeah.
But on this topic,
Yeah. Of
on
course.
key account
Oh,
management,
sure. Yeah.
because sometimes companies we could convince them that they needed help, but we couldn't convince them they needed technology, and so they were all too eager because we know a lot about the category, to get help, but not necessarily go all in. Some of those have turned into now some of our best customers.
I'm sure. Yeah, it's a
So
it's a practical founder playbook, which is consult and do the thing manually until you can get the systems going. And
you know
all
what?
that.
You do what you have to.
You do
start.
what you-
There's a lot of puppets going background. It's no, this is really software, but is it really? And there's a lot of hand waving, and there's a lot of you kind of do what you have to do. I mean, because there's, like you said, it's not like you're sitting on $10 million and you're literally living month to month, quarter to quarter,
Yeah.
winning that next customer, worrying whether you're going to win the next one. And I've been more times than I want to recount, facing 30 days to no money.
Yeah.
And I've had to go to, like Owens Corning, I have had to go to people like that and say, hey, maybe we could do a $200,000 project. I've had to go to, friends and family
Yeah.
and raise money. And I got to tell you, that's not for me. and probably for most, that's not an easy thing.
Yeah.
It's not an easy thing to ask for help.
Yeah.
It's not
I get it.
easy
Yeah.
because it's a little bit of admission of failure, and it's not easy. And if you I think, this is my own perspective, I think if you're gonna make it, at some point, you're gonna have to ask for help, and you need to accept that that's not the end of the world. It's just and I'll say this, and oftentimes you'll be surprised at the people that will step in to help because they believe. They see what you're doing, they see the passion, and in some ways, they wanna be they want to be they wish they were you. They actually, in their own world, wish they were doing what you were doing, and they'd like to be along for the ride,
Yeah. Just a little
and be
bit.
part of it,
Yeah.
be part of it. And so, asking for help is not an easy thing, but I will say you have to. I think you have to be willing to ask for help and put your ego aside.
Well, are you out of the woods on all that cash flow? You've raised some
Oh,
funding and
yeah.
all that, or
Oh,
yeah.
I don't think cash flow ever ends.
All right.
It never I don't think it hell, I don't think it ends if you're GE. I
Yeah.
don't know if it ever really ends.
Yes.
I think
Thanks for that clear reminder to practical
you're
founders out there. Yeah.
you're managing at a different level, but I I mean, I today still, you know what? What happens? I got so what now one thing that's happening to me right now is I have one of my customers is German based, and I've got, $500,000 hung up in accounts receivable because I have to get some special form from the German government and the US government that says I'm a US entity to avoid double taxation. Well, okay, a half a million dollar outstanding AR is meaningful to me.
Yeah.
So it should never I don't think that part ever really ends. I just think
Yeah.
you're managing it on, different sort of levels.
Yeah.
At the bottom level, it's you're looking at the abyss of failure.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're not we're at a place now where, listen, we're not looking at the abyss of failure, but we're still looking at sometimes cash flow is a little tight, here and there, and you gotta figure out how to manage around that, right?
Where do you see this going, Jerry? Here, you've put in the dreaded, the brutal years, and the game is changing a little bit. Is this, you've got investors. Is this a $20-50 million business at some point that you can see the dotted line?
My goal right now is 10 million in a blink. That's what I say.
Let's
10
go.
million. That's my mantra right now with our team, in our investors is like, I see this as 10 million in a blink. Now is that 2 years? Is it a little more, a little less? But it's in the context of things, I think it's in a blink.
Well, it's kind of
Um,
like 25 customers at your current run rate, and
I
if
know, and
all
so
that kind of
it's
thing.
like
No problem.
we
Your
like
VP of sales. It's just
I just
25
met
customers. Yeah.
I just met 40 customers that, are
Yeah.
ready to have, so a blink.
All right.
I'm kind of in my own mindset is I can see that I see it right here. I mean, it's right here
Yeah.
right here on my
Yeah.
piece
There
of
you go.
paper. I can sit here and write down. We've already met the customers, right?
Jerry,
This
can I
is not
predict
me.
something when you hit $10 million? You'll have enough customers, you'll have enough size, you'll have enough reputation, enough logos. Your feature will be really complete. Enough key account managers running around using your software and going to other companies that something changes with a new category at about 10 million roughly in B2B is that people say, "Oh yeah, key account management. Yeah, you get Valkyrie. Oh yeah, do you use Valkyrie? Yeah, we use Valkyrie, like the table at and we use that. It's okay. The water's fine." And then the sales cycle compresses. Like,
Right.
just get Valkyrie is
And you know what,
the
Greg?
yeah.
That's starting to happen
Yes,
for
I
us.
get it.
It's starting to happen.
Yes.
And so you asked me where listen, I think this can be a $100 million business. I still think it's niche.
Yeah.
My eyes are not in the stratosphere. I'm not pretending that we're gonna become, some sort of CRM,
You're not betting the
whatever,
company on
whatever.
that with funding. Yeah.
But I do know personally enough key account managers that need this. Um, I think we're gonna grow pretty rapidly here in the next few
Yeah.
years. I don't think 100 million is out of the question, but listen, for me, 10 million in a blink. Let's
Yeah.
get to 10 million in a blink.
Yeah. That's awesome. Well, very exciting, Jerry. Thanks for sharing some of the brutal realities of the long game here, creating a new category and doing something and becoming the leader in an established category. It's always harder than it looks and takes longer than it looks. And usually venture funding doesn't help in that regard. And maybe when you know, with a gun to your head, saying you better hurry up and grow this thing in 2 years or we're out, it doesn't usually help. But What advice do you have for practical founders out there that say, I see this thing, nobody's got one of these, but I know this market so well. I know that everybody needs it, like your key account management software, creating new categories, even in the AI age and so forth. But just the realities of dealing with the long game and strategic accounts and anything else that you offer as general advice for practical founders out there.
It just makes my head spin because I have so much that spins when you ask me that question when I reflect back. But I think one of the first things is take the risk because I think it's worth it. I think it's worth it if you fail. It's worth it if you succeed, of course. But it's an experience that I wish everyone could have of what it feels like to start a business and to try and make it go. And I think if you fail, you're better off for it. And obviously, if you succeed, you're well. But it's a risk, and it's a little bit scary. In fact, maybe it's a lot scary. But it's less scary if you do it. I think that, at least from my perspective, this starting a business is best done with people that you trust deeply. Acquaintance, colleague. One of the reasons I left corporate America, I met with a senior executive, and he said to me, "Wouldn't you like to start a business with some of the smartest people you know?" He didn't know it at the time, but I was like, "You're right. That's what I'm going to do." And so I think doing it with friends and people that you really respect and can help and are different, it helps with the journey
Mm-hmm.
because it can be pretty lonely.
Yeah.
And the last thing I would just say, if you can do it with a customer. So if you have this idea, right, and you think it's going to, be all of that and you can, build it into something, try to have someone on the other end of the pipe and by way of a customer that's with you in the early stages. I'm not a big believer in build it and they will come sort of thing, like a Facebook or whatever. I mean, I don't, maybe I'm just not that smart, but I do think if you take your experiences and you have a customer on the other end of the pipe that's willing to collaborate with you, even if they're not quite buying yet, but a prearranged beta, that's a huge deal because it gives you feedback. You got to have that rapid feedback. And if you start the business before you have that in place, you're going to spend too much time trying to find that trusted feedback mechanism and you're going to lose it. I'd never start a business if I didn't have a trusted feedback mechanism in place.
Right. And it's a big challenge for founders who go out there and build something and build and build and build, and then they wake up for customers later on. But start with customers.
I think, Greg, and again, this is my own 2 cents. I think the product market fit is the biggest thing. Getting that right is the hardest thing, the biggest thing. It takes the longest. And getting product market fit correct requires feedback from sort of the right sources.
Yeah.
I talked to you about GE. GE wasn't the right source for us. And so it delayed our journey. Now it helped us. Don't get me wrong, it helped us, but it delayed our journey. So you got to think critically about having what you envision as the right sort of product market fit feedback mechanism. Because if you can get that quick, it makes a lot of difference. And if you don't have that in place when you start, you're in trouble. Unless you're, smart as Mark Zuckerberg and you can build something that, everyone is
Well,
going to
he
use.
had product market fit. Remember, it took the servers down at Harvard
know
and
he
all
did.
that. That's a sign. Here's your sign. All
Yeah,
that
he did.
stuff here. Well, congratulations on your the progress there. Spoken like a true Montana, Chicago guy, grinding through this and not stopping, never giving up. And it sounds like a great opportunity and something you're poised to take advantage of. So thanks for being on the Practical Founders podcast, Jerry, and sharing your story.
Thanks so much, Greg. Thanks for having me.
You bet. Thanks for watching this week's interview on the Practical Founders podcast. Be sure to like this episode and subscribe to the Practical Founders YouTube channel to keep up with my weekly in-depth interviews with serious software founders who are building valuable software companies without big funding. You can check out my blog, all the podcast episodes, and information about my Practical Founders CEO peer groups at practicalfounders.com, or message me on LinkedIn if you'd like to connect. See you next week.